Okay, we are live. Hi, everyone. My name is Kellyanne, and I'm with Mysterious Galaxy Bookstore in San Diego. And I want to thank you all so much for joining us today virtually for today's event. I'm so excited to be here tonight with authors Matt Wallace and Premee Mohamed. A little bit about our authors. Matt Wallace is a Hugo-nominated author of RENCOR, Life in Grudge City, and the Sin du Jour series. And he also won a Hugo Award alongside Mur Lafferty for the fancast Ditch Diggers. He's also penned more than 100 short stories in addition to writing for film and television. In his youth, he traveled the world as a professional wrestler and an unarmed combat and self-defense instructor before retiring to write full-time. Premee Mohamed is a Nebula, World Fantasy, and Aurora Award-winning Indo-Caribbean scientist and speculative fiction author based in Edmonton, Alberta. She's an assistant editor at the short fiction audio venue Escape Pod and the author of Beneath the Rising series of novels, as well as several novellas. So I'll be heading out in just a little bit, but before we get started, just a quick rundown of Crowdcast for anyone who hasn't joined us for a virtual event. To the right-hand side is our chat section. Please feel free to use this space to chat among yourselves and also with the authors. Right down below our video is the Ask a Question section. Feel free to ask questions for the authors to answer at the end of the event. Put all those here and not in the chat section. And then finally, make sure to click that green button that says purchase books, and that'll lead you to the Mysterious Galaxies website where you can find both of our authors' books for purchase. And that's all from me for now. So thanks and have a great event. I'll see you at the end.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And yeah,
Premee!
Matt!
I never know what to do when they're doing the bios like that. I think I started miming my own biography.
Yeah, and then you were doing like interpretive dance or something when they started on mine. Like 3.
So you won the 3 awards.
I won 3 awards.
Triple threat. They're big ones too. Come on.
It's a hat trick because I'm Canadian.
Exactly. That's where the phrase was born, right? Because hockey or something.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you for inviting me to come chat about your book today. This is what we're discussing today. Savage Crowns, congratulations on the completed trilogy.
Thank you so much. Yes, I did complete a trilogy. That is a true factual statement. And as we said before, I think I should point out I'm actually I am in a guest. I'm in a special location. I'm in Omnihedral Games. It's a game store in, wait for it, Savage, Maryland. I am in the town of Savage, Maryland for this event. I mean, didn't plan it that way. It was just fate. It's kismet.
He actually did plan it that way. Don't listen to him.
I did. I mean, I purchased plane tickets and came here, but like the time all kind of worked out the way it worked out. So yeah, I just think this worked. Yeah, we've got the universe on our side, Premee. That's what I'm saying.
I think so. I think we have the blessings of the gods. She
do.
said optimistically, hoping that wasn't yours. So,
in one of your stories, it fucking would be.
That would be actually.
Horrible, nothing but horrible things.
Nothing but horrible things. One of us is about to get hit by lightning on camera right now.
I mean,
dibs out. I said dibs out, so it can't be me. So fantasy trilogy, epic fantasy, wars, empires, shadowy conspiracies, weirdo nobles, dramatic fight scenes, loyalty, the unwashed masses. So, is this the kind of fantasy that you grew up reading? Is that the kind of fantasy you read now? What do you like in fantasy?
Oh my god, it's definitely the kind of fantasy I grew up reading. I grew up reading all the, I mean, I don't want to call it basic, but I grew up reading all the big, the big stuff, the Pern books, the Dragonlance books were how I got into fantasy, or as Ursula Vernon calls them, extruded fantasy flavor, which, fair.
Which fair, I've read them, but yeah.
But hey, I was 12. Like, if you were 12 in the early 90s, those books were mind-blowing, and they blew my mind, and they got me into the genre. So yeah, I grew up reading all those kind of big, sprawling, multi-book epic fantasy world stuff. And I still love a big, sprawling epic fantasy. My taste have fortunately broadened beyond just, the 5 mostly white dude authors who were allowed to write books back then, which is nice. And, more into stuff like, your C.L. Clarks now, and your Evan Winter, Rage of Dragons, and, the Unbroken. Those are 2 of my current favorite ones that I'm obsessed with. So yeah, definitely a lifelong fan of the big sprawling fantasy epic for sure, which is definitely one of the reasons I guess I ended up writing it.
Nice. Yeah. I did not grow up reading that type of epic fantasy. I kind of only got into it when I was older, but I grew up reading the like the kid version of that. So like Lloyd Alexander and things like that. And yeah, Chronicles of Pride and stuff. So like epic, but like smaller scope.
Right. No, that's amazing, dude. That's hard to do. It's hard to write something that feels epic on that kind of scale. Like like as a middle grade author too, I have total respect for that. So those are great.
Yeah, it's hard even to like use the word epic. Every time I use the word epic, I'm like, man, it's kind of starting to lose its meaning.
No, yeah, I completely agree. Here's the thing, man. It's like I say it because that's the industry speak that is a good apply to it. I didn't set out like, all right, I'm gonna write an epic fantasy. I just wanted to write. Again, I say big sprawl. That's how sprawling is the word I associate with it. That story, like physically, location wise, and emotionally, everything just sprawls over a big, broad range of time and physical location and everything. But then you get into publishing, you find out that if everything has to have a shiny label applied to it, and you kind of got to pick your something. You do. Terrible. I completely disagree with it. I think it's all mostly bullshit. High fantasy, low fantasy, all that crap.
I have never understood those two specifically. It's like when somebody tells me, this is a high concept novel, I'm like, what does that mean?
What is it just sounds like classic
What's high fantasy? What's low fantasy?
Yeah.
If someone says fuck, does that make it low? Am I allowed to say that? Sorry, is this
I don't know.
Like an all ages event? My God, your agent is here, FYI. Like,
oh, I know. That's okay. Becky's one of your biggest fans. Hi, Becky, by the way.
Hi, Becky. Sorry.
Becky loves you, thinks you're brilliant, and you are brilliant. No, I've cursed like 3 times already, so I guess a genius.
Okay.
Maybe we can monitor it a little bit going forward if we want, but I think this
is hilarious because I'm so used to this that I apparently did not even notice it.
Oh, dude, they're shilling Rage of Dragons and the Unbroken in the chat. That's
there we go. Thanks, Mysterious Galaxy.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know. I do feel you about the publishing tendency to get a manuscript and want to put it in like the smallest specific box that has like a piece of tape on it with a label, and no one tries to peel off the tape because it's on there really good, and they're just like, no, we're just gonna make your manuscript fit.
Yeah, no, we've used duct tape. There's nothing you can do about
duct
it.
Tape.
It's on forever.
We're not taking it off. It's gonna leave a sticky residue. Just no.
Now the toy collector in me is flashing at how many labels I've had to wash off of things and how that annoys me when people do that. But that's an entirely different subject.
Which no, man, can get to your questions because people probably want to know about your toy collection. Yeah.
Do you have questions about vintage toys? I'm absolutely happy to answer that. I'd rather talk about the books 9 times out of 10 to be perfectly honest with you.
Because we've been hit on the head a lot, but we're still writing books. What is wrong with us?
We have that in common. Premee and I, for vastly different reasons, have both had several concussions between us, and those are also stories we can tell. Premee's involves bears, which is a lot more interesting than
the fiction he's writing right now at this moment, folks. Bark at the man.
So the label thing—that's what we're talking about.
The label thing.
The thing is, you have no choice at one point but to kind of embrace it and just hope that you can live with the label. And I can live with epic fantasy as a label because aside from just kind of sounding aggrandizing and setting expectations for it, it does for me describe those elements that I am going for, which is telling a story that moves, outwardly and covers a lot of time and a lot of space plot wise and a lot of character journeys and a lot of physical. So the other thing is you do hope that you hit that once you do embrace the label.
Like once they put the label on it, you hope that's how they're marketing it, and that's the audience that they're trying to get to. Like what I really loved about the series too, not just the incredible settings in the world building, which I'm sure people will have lots of questions about, but the fact that there are so many moving pieces, and that in the 3rd book, all the pieces fit together neatly, like cogs, which is fantastic. So the reason I'm thinking about this is because I have some trilogies. I'm just finishing up the 3rd book in my 2nd trilogy, but neither trilogy was actually planned to be a trilogy. So was that going to be a trilogy right from the start, or did you get surprised like some of us get surprised?
I really think that's you, to be honest with you. You're like the only career reluctant trilogy writer that I know. You just keep trying to write one book or 2 books max. They just keep making you write more. It's just because you're so damn good, Premee.
No, because my editors come to me and they're like, and they flutter their eyelashes, and I'm like, I can't even see that because you live across the ocean from me. But also, you probably didn't notice, I tried to coordinate my makeup to the cover of the book, but it's not really.
Oh my God, though, I do see. I see the intention.
So it's like there's like gold and red. Anyways,
that is amazing. No, you're very sparkly and you look lovely, and thank you for that.
That's
a step beyond. That's a step beyond for me. I'm gonna have you do all my events from now on. And now I got to make sure I get a cover that you can color coordinate.
Yeah. Just or have your publicist like send me some makeup or something after the cover is designed.
I will. You should get free makeup. You absolutely should get free makeup.
I should get free makeup. Yeah.
Yeah. Why can't you just get free makeup? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Lots of us writers like makeup.
For sure. You did ask me a question at some point. I've completely forgotten.
Yeah. It was we've been hitting the head a lot, and yet we still managed to write trilogies. But so, how was the planning? Did you start at did you start before book 1 and plan out each book carefully, or did you kind of go from book 1 and go like, I'm going to hop off this into book 2, and then I'm going to hop off into book 3 and hope it all works out?
Right. No, so it was always planned to be a trilogy. It was sold as a trilogy. I did that because I knew I wanted to write a series of books. I just didn't want to write one that went on forever. I didn't want to do the kind of Jordan thing, the Dragonlance thing, where just don't get me wrong, like if the books had blown up and paying me to do it, I would keep writing them all day if they were giving me enough money. I will admit that outright. Like I'm a professional, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to know what my set endpoint was. You also have to understand that like writing long form period is very difficult for me. I don't come to it naturally. Like I started as a short story writer. There was a point where that's like all I wanted to do was short stories. And then you get hit with the reality that that's like you can't make a career. I mean, you can do that if you want. You can spend your life writing, but you can't make a career out of it. You certainly can't make any money doing it. So I had to like start writing longer form. And I sort of worked up to novels gradually. And I did the novella series Sin du Jour, which was mentioned in the beginning. And then I decided to jump straight from that to, hey, what if you wrote, a 500-page fantasy novel, which wasn't the smartest thing to do. It was very difficult. It took me many years to actually accomplish that from inception to like actual first draft. So the idea was to limit it to a number of books that I thought was manageable and didn't seem too daunting to me. So I was like, I'll do a trilogy. Trilogies are good. I'm a fan of trilogies. I kind of like a 3-act structure in things. So it made sense to me as someone who's like also a screenwriter and whatnot. So that was always the plan. I won't sit here and say I outlined it as a trilogy meticulously. I kind of arbitrarily picked 3 books as a number and then just sort of decided with all the big beats in mind and everything, it'll work out. 3 books is plenty, be fine. And because I'm not someone who outlines obsessively. I don't like doing that. I like to have my big beats in mind, like the big story beats, the big plot beats, and then I like to kind of just freestyle in between. I keep using the word organic, even though I hate that word when it's applied to creative things. But I like things to be able to grow organically and move where the kind of story and the writing takes me in the moment. So, like I said, I decided it was going to be three books, but I did not decide what the 3 books were going to be. I kind of wrote the first one and then was like, I'll sort of figure it out with the next 2 as I go. Which is not a good way to do anything. I don't recommend doing any of the things I'm talking about. This is a horrible process and horrible methodology.
I don't think it's horrible. I think it worked out really well in the books. They feel very deliberate. They feel very thought out. Of course, now that I know, I'm going to go back and I'm going to find all the continuity errors and the mistakes, and then I'm going to email you. And,
I've ruined the illusion entirely.
Yeah, you've ruined the illusion. Yeah, I'm gonna write all over this nice copy that your lovely publisher.
You take a red pen to it. You're gonna be looking.
Yes, I am. I have my pen and it's full of red ink.
I shouldn't have. Yeah. I know you don't make empty pen threads. Pens are one of your things.
I don't make empty pen threads. That should be a T-shirt as well. I forget what our earlier one was already.
Don't remember. No, but I appreciate you saying that. I mean, it doesn't mean it's not the same as like I was gonna say it's not the same as making it up as you go along, but that's literally what writing is, just making shit up as you go along. So I guess it's not entirely accurate. I did plan, what I just saved the planning for my prep for each book as I went along. Jump into the book without thinking about it. I'm just not gonna sit here and say when I finished the first book, I knew everything that was gonna happen in the next 2 books. I had my loose framework. I had my big beats, I had my 3-book structure, and then before each book, I planned how I was going to fit the next act into that book. So that's probably why I sort of got away with it, I guess.
Maybe you can answer a question that I've always had when people use it on Twitter, and then I feel stupid, so I don't ask about it. But what the hell does beat mean? As far as I can tell, it just means thing. It just means a thing that happens. Beat.
Beat. Oh, beat. Yes. No.
It's just a thing.
That's
beat means nothing.
I said, but I qualified it. I said big beat. So
what the hell is a big beat?
A big beat is a beat that's bigger than all of the other beats in your book. And you're right. A book is just beats repeated over and over again with slight variations, like music. But no, when I hear it is kind of a bullshit word. You're right. I'm not defending it. But what I mean by it is just like the big turning point moments in the plot or the story. Like the big mile markers, the big benchmarks I want to hit. And not just necessarily about plot. Like that includes like the big character moments, the big things in the character arc that like changes people. That's what I mean when I say big beats. It's just like the big things that happen in the book. That are kind of the reason.
I'm still gonna have to refuse to use the word beat, because as far as I can tell, it's just a beat is just a thing that happens in a story, and a story is composed of things happening. So I'm just going to keep using the word thing. I don't know. Whoever came up with beat, I'm going to go find them, and I'm going to hit them with a tennis racket.
You're going to beat them.
Yeah, I'm going to beat them. I'm going to thing them.
But I'm not defending it. You're right. Everything you just said is completely accurate.
We have a comment in chat saying, in theater, a beat is when something emotional lands for character. Is that accurate?
Yeah, no, we'll go with that because that sounds way smarter than.
Okay, that sounds way better. Okay, I'm reinstating beat. Beat can be used again. Beat's a word.
Oh, so I give a 10-minute explanation of it, and you're like, no, screw that.
No, because you were just saying a beat is something that happens in a story. I'm like, yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, that's what stories are made out of. They're made out of things.
You just didn't take a lot of convincing, I guess, is what I'm saying, after I tried very hard.
Well, tell me about the screenplay thing, though. So you say that was very casual. Oh, I write screenplays. Do you just do them as a hobby, or like?
I mean, lately, especially with the strike on, there was much.
To it, with the strike on.
No, it's something I did professionally for a while, a long time ago. I like to do it professionally again. But things have been I appreciate that. No, I moved out to Los Angeles 13 years ago or so, and I did it specifically to pursue screenwriting, and I stopped writing prose and novels and short stories for a long time. While I did that, I did a season of a television show in 2013, something like that, and couldn't get another job after that, which happens to a lot of writers out here. And that's kind of when I started doing prose and novels again, honestly, just because it was something. There's, it's not that selling a novel is somehow easier. It's just you do have easier access. You can send things to people and they will read them, which in terms of screenwriting is a very difficult thing to do. So
well, and I get the impression too, it's definitely partly access, because there's millions and millions and millions of books, but there's only so many TV shows, because it costs less money to produce a book.
A book, yes, no, vastly less money. Yeah, that's the big part. I mean, there are a million factors that go into it, and everything you've heard about Hollywood and who you know is completely accurate. And it's only gotten, again, that's why literally every professional screenwriter in America is on strike right now, because it's just a terrible industry, and it's very difficult.
But my impression was that there are Hollywood producers kind of roaming the streets wearing like gold necklaces with dollar signs on them, and also rings that have dollar signs on them made out of gold with diamonds, and they just offer
dollar signs keychains for their Porsches,
and dollar sign keychains for their shiny red car. And I saw that in a class, actually, so I assumed it was accurate. Is that not accurate?
No, I see them all the time in Los Angeles. They're just wandering around LA. Yeah. It's desperate times for them because they can't find writers now. So they're just out in the street, literally. They're jingling their dollar sign keychains, just trying to attract writers.
Are they like hungry pigeons? Do people just like throw them the occasional word, or like?
Just like, it's like a page. They give them a random page from a screenplay and let them play with it for a while. And
this is page 27. Just you don't get the rest.
It's like, how this will play. They start doing like a line breakdown and budgeting it and everything. And
that
keeps them
that's
busy
so sad.
For a while. And but is it though?
No, it's actually not that sad. Pay writers. My God, people just need to pay writers.
It's not. It's a really simple concept.
It's a very simple concept.
Yeah.
So do you kind of feel do you kind of feel the screenplay knowledge and experience really informs your prose writing, or are they two very different things, like apples and oranges? You're never thinking cinematically when you write? Because I found the books very cinematic. I found them very like very like movie-esque. Like I could always see what was going on. I could always hear what people were saying.
I know. I really appreciate that. I definitely think I have that kind of mindset. And I mean, when I got back into prose and doing novels again after doing screenwriting exclusively for several years, I almost brought too much of it with me, honestly. Like if you go back and read like the first Sin du Jour novella, which was like the first big thing I did, it reads very much like a screenplay. Like it's like the prose it's like first person present tense, not first person present tense. It's very sparse, very, very sparse and very like linear in its description. And I go back and read that now and I find it a little cringe, to be honest with you. Like people still seem to like that book, I appreciate. But I'm like, God, what were you doing, man? Like this is not, you were just writing the screenplay, but attributing the dialogue. That's like that's the only difference in this thing. It's terrible. Then as it goes on, I started getting back more into the mindset of writing prose. But I did, I am very, I think, kind of episodic in a way, I guess, with my writing. I do tend to think of things in a more episodic structure, which I do think I brought back to prose from screenwriting. And that can be good and it can be bad. But no, I do think a lot about the visuals, especially in terms of action scenes and fight scenes. But that has as much to do with just being cinematically minded as like coming from like pro wrestling, like I do it from martial arts, and just being very into action scenes and fight scenes as well. So I think the two things kind of combine together. But yeah, no, I definitely poured it a lot from my time screenwriting for sure.
No, that's cool. And yeah, I think when you're talking about kind of the episodic thinking, I think that worked really well for the trilogy, specifically because there are several timelines. So every time you switch away from what somebody is doing, it feels like starting another episode in another location. And then you kind of feel like, or I kind of felt anyway, while I was reading, I'm like, okay, I'm in good hands. I know that I'm with these characters. We're in this setting. They have something to accomplish in this episode, basically. And then after that, the camera's going to move again, and we're going to go back to what the other people were doing. And I'm probably going to yell at Matt in DMs because I'm upset at what the people are doing, which I am proud to say that I did not do for this book, although I did for the second book.
No, you did for the second book. But I mean, you were reading this one for research purposes also, because we were going to do this event. So I appreciate that very much. But no, I mean, but partly as you were saying that, in my head I'm going, I really just do that for me, and that's kind of true. Like I have to, because dealing with multi perspectives and dealing with different timelines over such a long book, because again, like long form comes not naturally to me. Like I have to break it down that way almost just to keep it all straight myself, honestly. Like when I did the first one in particular, I knew I wanted to do multi-perspective. I knew I wanted to do parallel timelines, but I'm like, I can't have a million characters because I'll lose track of that. So let's start with 3. I could do 3. I could basically write like 3 novellas and then lace them together and like equal an epic fantasy novel if I just do that. Because if I thought to myself I had to write a linear 500-page book to the end, like I never would have finished it. It would have been way too overwhelming. I would have drowned in the thing. So that's really what I ended up doing, was just breaking it down by the perspective of the 3 main characters I had, writing their stories, and then the real craft, if you can call it that, really came in the editing process when I wove everything together and just made sure it all worked together. But I tended to think of it like episodes and like camera cuts and like cuts in a show, with perspectives like you would watch, and it's very important to make that really clean and make sure you establish things very firmly, so that, like you said, people understand the perspective has changed, the location has changed, it's not jarring, and you kind of go along with the story. But mainly I just did it so I could keep it straight for myself.
No, it really worked though. I think like the transitions and like the juxtapositions were very clean, and you find yourself like in place right away, which was really nice and really orienting. Because again, with epic fantasy, sometimes when things are happening all at the same time, you find yourself like, oh, I feel like I'm supposed to know where that guy is. But all the characters know and I don't know, because that happened 175 pages ago. And then you don't want to flip back and look. that was like a J.R. Tolkien subtweet, but it wasn't a subtweet because we're not tweeting. You know what I mean, though?
Those were the first books that came to mind, honestly.
Yeah.
It's like, how am I supposed to remember that shit?
Oh my God, where the hell is Gandalf right now?
Eons have passed. Civilizations have risen.
It's been 15 chapters since I saw that guy. Oh my God. Yeah, no, I know the feeling. It's
I guess if you put it in the context of its place, maybe there was just less other stuff to just the dog just forced his way in. That's awesome. That's okay.
That's cool. Yeah, the cat actually just entered the room. He's on his cat tree now.
Hello, Percy. Percy's just exploring. Perseus is the dog's. I'm sorry, I would try to get him.
Hi, Percy.
If he gets close enough, we'll give him a guest spot.
He's a literature fan.
Yes, no, he's a big boy. He's very sweet. He's one of those dogs who doesn't realize how huge he is.
Oh my God, that's the best kind.
He'll try to be a lap dog. He literally tried to curl up on one of my feet earlier, which was adorable. He's giant. So
yeah. A former coworker of mine came to my last book launch party and brought his puppy, which was a 10-month-old Bernese Mountain Dog. And
oh my God.
She was like hip height on me. Like her shoulder was at like my hip. And of course she's in the bookstore and he's asking if it's okay. And she's coming around like, oh my God, look at all these people. And just like flattening people and like smashing them against the walls and like crushing them against the shelves. And,
oh my God.
She weighs like 130 pounds.
They're huge. Yes. They're
yes.
adorable.
She was such a good girl. She lay down and she was very quiet after that. But for a couple of minutes there, my mom was like, I'm leaving. Like, there's a monster in here. I'm like, I am sorry, Mom. It's
my God, you just did your mom face. That was amazing.
It's so good. I don't know. I love dogs, but okay. We're probably going to be able to get into questions in a couple minutes here, but I have one hard author question that you won't be able to answer.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite character in the trilogy? Because I have a favorite. I want to hear who your favorite is.
I don't. I mean, again, that's really, really difficult.
It's hard.
I can tell you that as the books went on, it became more and more Taru more than anybody, which was surprising because it wasn't that way.
Yeah, they're my favorite too.
Yeah, no, I mean everybody. That's become kind of a common, and I mean you can, and I'm sure you can relate to this. But it's like you kind of feel yourself doing that. Like you start to really get interested in a character the more you get to read them. And you just start investing more in them because you like spending time with them. You like what you're doing with them. And that definitely happened with them in the book. And their role was definitely not as central as it ends. Like, I don't want to get into spoilers, but their role was definitely not as essential as it coming in earlier drafts and in earlier versions of my. But as I went on with especially the latter two books, their role definitely grew as my affection for them as a character grew.
Yeah. Well, and I think to me though that it felt really natural and intuitive though, because they're filling in kind of for, the parts where they don't necessarily want to have to do what they're doing, but because everyone else has tried and failed, it provides this kind of gap. And Taru is like,
I guess I'll do it. No, and I mean, that is.
I have to at least try. Like, I have to try because I'm the only one left to try.
No, I do. I will admit, I do think that's honestly a byproduct of like I didn't pick enough perspectives for the story I was trying to tell up front. I think the story needed more perspectives than the three main ones, but I didn't want to do more than three because again, I was worried I would completely lose track of it. So as things went. Was like, all right, definitely needed at least a fourth one. Oh, hey, there's Drew. Come on, you fill in. You good? You good?
Yeah, you good?
Right.
You good? Do you want a snack or anything? You need some water? Okay, you're in. Just shove them into the ring. Yeah, pretty much.
That doesn't diminish anything. I just
no.
I really because
it all works in the story. It all works in the plot. Yeah. It works emotionally. Yeah. It works logically. So yeah, I'm glad that our favorites lined up. I don't know why. With my two trilogies, since neither was planned as a trilogy, what I had to keep doing was going back to the end of the last book that actually had a book deal and like pulling out some threads so I could write another stupid book.
Right.
If I'd had the chance, I would have actually planned both trilogies from the start, but that did not end up happening.
See, I feel bad now, and I feel like it's almost unfair because I planned these as a trilogy. I had the chance to do all the things that you wanted to do, and I didn't do them. So I just feel lazy by comparison now, honestly.
No, you are the hardest working tiny forest creature in showbiz, and that's a fact.
Oh, thank you so much, Premee. That means the world to me.
We have questions in our author box.
Oh, that's great.
For both authors, what part of the writing process do you find the most challenging? The first draft, the editing, etc.?
Oh, I hate rewriting things, so it's definitely that. I have a very short attention span. I think, again, to reiterate, that's one of the reasons I probably have such a difficulty with long form fiction. Like once I've written it, especially if I felt satisfaction with it. I'm not saying it was good, but I'm just saying I personally
you just got the vibes.
Yeah, I had the. It's really, honestly, you nailed it. That's all vibes. It has nothing to do with the actual quality. Just if I vibed on it and I did it and I finished a draft of it, I don't want to have to go back and work on that more. Like I want to go on to something else. So editing and to me those are two different things. Like rewriting is part of it.
I agree.
And all of that, but rewriting is a separate thing. I don't mind editing. I don't mind fixing stuff up in kind of a line editing way, but actually rewriting I can find excruciating sometimes because I'm like, I did it. Why do I have to do it again? Why? What more do you want from me?
What do you want from
me? I'm just a very small forest creature, people. Exactly. Rolls down the cheek. What about
God. I was about to say outlining, but I only feel that way because I just finished an outline. And the reason that outline took so long to do was because I realized that the book I was basing it on was actually 2, possibly 3 books smushed into one. So I realized that I had to kind of tease out the parts that I wanted to keep and put them into a single book. And then shove all the other stuff aside for 2 later future books or whatever, or not write them at all. But that basically is what you're talking about, is rewriting and going through a large chunk of text and just trying to like tease things out. And I hated it. Normally outlining is like not that bad. To me, it's on par with drafting. But I think the part I hate the most after whatever we're at now, 8 books or whatever, is the copy edits. Because I'm one of those people, and I'll just sit there and, they'll be like, oh, add an S to this. And I'm like, no, I hate you. Wait, sorry. Yes. Yes. Like, accept it. And then, 2 lines later, they're like, put a comma here. I'm like, no! And it's
dude.
And then you have to do it like 200 more times.
Yeah, no, it really starts to feel excruciating after a while.
It does.
No matter how small.
It's
I completely agree with you.
The first 10 or 15 pages, you're like, maybe I'll survive this.
And then it just keeps going. You realize, oh my God, they did this. Why did I make this book so long? So that I have to go through. Yes, it just.
Well, and the worst part is like 90% of the time, I'm not even accepting what the copy editor's saying. I'm like, no, I said what I said.
I said.
Stet. Yes.
There you go. That's
and
there's that single brain cell in action.
Then you send it back, and my poor editor is like, well, I guess I'll die. I'm like, yeah, I guess you'll die.
You deserve it. No, you don't. You're a nice person.
No, this is terrible.
I'm going to put you in the acknowledgements. Don't worry about it.
That's where you're going. You're going in the acknowledgements. And if I win anything for it, you're getting a speech acknowledgement as well. Like, I like to tell this story for my novella, And What Can We Offer You Tonight? My editor, Dave, bought it, and he suggested 3 changes in the manuscript, total 3. I steadied them all and sent it back. I'm like, no. And he was like, okie doke. He just gave up, and then it ended up winning a Nebula and a World Fantasy Award. So I don't think there's a moral to the story.
No, actually, there is a very important lesson. No, seriously, to take it to a real place.
What is it?
Something that a lot of authors, new authors, don't realize is you are allowed to say no. That's actually a very important.
That is a good lesson. Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's and also if there's something you feel really strongly about, tell your editor. They're not going to jump down your neck. They're just going to be like, oh, okay. Yeah. And then they're either going to, suggest a different change or let you keep what you had. Because editors are people. I don't know. Like, most of them are people. Mostly.
Yeah. And if they let you keep what you have, then you go on and win an award like Premee. You can just shove it in their face and be like, see, I was right.
No, I did not shove it in Dave's face. He was literally, after my speech, he was like, why did you thank me in your Nebula speech? I'm like, shut up, Dave. Because you're my editor. That's why. I didn't edit the book. Awesome. No, because you're my editor generally. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
General editor. That
General
would be a
editor.
title.
Yeah.
General
we have
editor.
another question, which is, has launching the final book in a series been different from launching the first in a series? How so?
So this question is a lot more complicated than it may sound, because there are several facets to it. There's the emotional side of it, and then there's the professional side of it. Well, that's not true. I did in a series before. Percy's back. Hey, Percy.
Hi, Percy.
Percy, it just won't come close enough for me to get him on camera. No, so I did end a series before, so I guess that's not wholly accurate. And my friend John just closed the door to the room I'm in. Thank you, John. Anyway, so here's the deal. This series, these 3 books were not like anything I'd done before on any level. It was a new genre for me. They're the first novels I did with a big publisher, or an imprint of a big publisher. They were the longest books I ever did. And the situation surrounding the editing and release of them was also not like anything else, for several reasons, one of which Premee will relate to, which is they all came out during the pandemic. The first one came out summer of 2020. They've all come out during the pandemic, which didn't make things easier. There was immense shakeup at the publisher of these books. I don't want to go into a whole thing about that. I've already talked about it a lot this month, and I'll just spin off into a tangent on it. But it made the release of them very difficult. It made the promotion of them very difficult. The promotion was frankly lacking for the first 2 for all of those reasons. There was shake up and shuffle the publisher. I kind of got less in it. Even if there hadn't been, they were figuring out how to market books in the pandemic, like right at the start. So for all those reasons, the first 2 books, the release of them was not pleasant for me emotionally, and it was not particularly well done professionally. This last one, I am pleased to say, has been a complete reversal of all of that. Ending the series was very emotionally satisfying for me. I feel a lot of relief about it. I'm very pleased that I was able to do all of the books. There were a lot of points along the way, to be perfectly honest with you, I thought the series might be canceled by the publisher. Mm-hmm. Points where I kind of wanted it to be canceled by the publisher, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm glad neither of those things happened. I'm glad we got to the end of it. Holding all 3 of them in my hand, I felt immensely satisfied and very relieved to do it. It was a good thing.
It makes a really good profile picture too.
No, it is, because my hands look giant in them, even though
they do look giant. That's a camera trick.
I know. It's Photoshop. Don't even worry about it. The other thing that was very cool, though, and Premee knows, I'm glad you're enjoying that, Premee. The other thing that Premee knows about, because she's received a handwritten note from her, is I got a new publicist for the last book, kind of 4th quarter, last minute, Cassidy Sattler. Cassidy has been absolutely amazing. She's done the best job any publicist could have done with this book at this point in the release of the series, and that's all I ever asked for, man. I just want the book to get the best shot that the book can have under the circumstances. I know I'm not a big name. I know I'm not going to get all the money poured into me, but just whatever we can do, I just want us to do that. And that hasn't always been the case, and that gets very frustrating. This time, I got all the things I could get under the circumstance. Cassidy helped make this feel like a big deal. She organized all this tour. She organized the event that we're doing right now. And between her and finishing the series, that's been the real difference for me. It's just been nice seeing the book kind of get a better shot than the first 2 books have. And the whole series as well, because, we're at the end now. So they've been marketing it as a trilogy. It's like, you hadn't heard about this? Read all of them. They're all out.
Now you can read all 3. Yeah.
Now you can read all 3. So it was satisfying on all those levels, and that's how it was different from the other books that were released before this. Yeah. That's the shortest version I can give, honestly.
Yeah, mine, I don't know. Yeah, last book in the series. Yeah, the last book in my Void trilogy came out last May, I think, or April. I don't know. What is time? How does time work?
No idea. It's gonna be July tomorrow. How'd that happen?
But
no idea.
I think it was different for me because these were like my debut books, despite everything that happened in 2021, which resulted in me having 4 books out that year. But my debut novel came out in March 2020. Guess what else debuted in March 2020? A novel, Coronavirus.
I forgot yours was literally like the month.
It was literally like the day everything locked down was the day my book was released.
I completely forgot about that. I'm so sorry.
So there was
that's extra.
There actually were things planned, and I was so excited because I was with a smaller press. Like I was with, I was with Solaris, and they don't have a lot of people. They don't have a ton of money. It wasn't a big 5 deal or anything. But they pushed the book to a lot of review outlets. It got nominated for like 5 awards. It got some trade reviews. We had, swag and stuff. We had postcards. We had book plates. We had physical arcs, which doesn't always happen. It didn't happen for the second 2 books. And I was really excited several months before. And then it actually happened. And it was just all the air going out of my balloon about being a debut author. Like, I was just like, well, this is it. That's that. Then can't even get freaking cupcakes or whatever for the book. And then the second book came out, and I was like, yeah, so that happened because it was 2021, and it was still a play. Yeah. And that one didn't get any kind of fanfare or attention, really. And again, people were really starting to burn out by that point. There were lockdowns on and off. Places were open and closed. I couldn't do any live events. I did a lot of virtual ones. It doesn't feel like it shifted the needle. And then I was like, well, that's the end of my series because it was a 2-book deal. So I was like, the series ends. It's a duology. It ends at the end of the second book. And then, as we know, my editor pinged me a couple of months before the second book was out. So it was already at the printers. Everything was already done. And he was like, so what do we think of as a title for the third book? And I sat there for like 30 seconds, like, what? That's a really interesting question. Luckily, my agent came in. He's like, hey, buddy, we're just going to chat about this offline, and then we'll get right back to you in the email. And my agent wrote back to me. He's like, you are not having a stroke. We did not agree on a third book. There's no contract. You didn't sign anything. And like immediately forget because you've hit your head a lot. It's okay.
He knows you well.
He's fishing because he wants a third book. But you don't have to write it if you don't want to. I'm like, well, I don't. So there was that. Because I had
but you also don't say no to anything.
I had done all this work to tie up all the loose ends and close all the doors and lock them really tight at the end of the second book, which if you've read it, you're aware. There's kind of a big event at the end of the second book.
A little bit.
That kind of precludes a third book.
I was very curious, personally. And even though we're friends, I just wanted to experience it like a normal reader, so I didn't press you. But yeah, you did a great job to jump ahead just a little bit.
The end of the second book is very, very much an end. Things end. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I had to write a third book. So I did that because I wanted some cash. And the third book kind of also didn't have any fanfare or anything, but emotionally I was like, well, okay. So the duology is now over. It's got 3 books in it, but the duology is now officially completely over. I'm emotionally and logically happy with the end. I feel like I untied and then retied a bunch of the threads that I wanted to tie up. And I'm actually really proud of the 3 books, even though all 3 of them have basically gone over like a lead balloon. What?
They're great books.
I can do math. I can look at my royalty statements.
I know. It offends me on some deeper level. It's just wrong. But
yeah, I don't know. I don't think they're bad. I was trying to do something unusual. And some people were like, this is too unusual for me. I will come to your house and bite you. So
but it's not Premee Mohamed isn't true though. Like you're talking about it like every person in the world decided not to read, like was offered your book and they all said no, get that away from me.
Yeah, they did.
As well.
Yeah, some of them sent me videos.
They did.
Like them being offered the book. Yeah, that's what happened.
Oh my God. That's not
what
happened.
But it is over.
There are millions of people who still need to discover them.
The 3 books look really nice together. Like
they do. No, they're beautiful. Yeah, they got to
really too because when people are like, which one do I start with? They don't have numbers on them. I'm like, oh yeah, you start with the black and white one. And then the second one is the black and white one. And then the third one, and by that point, people are usually like winding up to like punch me in the face, so I have to run.
Yeah. What do publishers have to put numbers and shit? I had this.
Why not just put it? It would take 2 seconds.
I don't get it. It was 7. I did 7 books in the novella trilogy. Every single one of them. I had this discussion.
Yeah.
With my fellow. I didn't have Becky as my agent back then. She would have regulated and handled that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
She's mortified right now. But yeah, I don't know why they're so against putting it on the book. It helps. It helps people know there's going to be another one after it. Also, that's the other thing. Like people, if they read a book and it doesn't have a number on it, they don't just assume there are more and go look for them. It's a whole thing.
Exactly. Like it has to say one of.
Yeah, it's not a hard concept.
Anyway, I think that'll be happening with my with the second trilogy too, because obviously it's like too late to go back and put a number on the covers of the first one, and I don't think I'm planning on putting numbers on the next two. So people are just gonna have to figure it out. I don't know.
They'll just, I'm sure readers are really good at that. They're awesome at that. They'll just figure it out. They'll all go hunt on their own. There isn't like a glut or an overwhelming amount of media out there for them to choose.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's not like I said before. I was lying. There aren't millions and millions of books. There's just like
there's just one.
Like a few. I love how we're like
named Steve.
I love how we're screaming, but on the inside.
No, on the inside I'm curled up and I'm sobbing.
I'm screaming. I'm screaming.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We got another really good question.
Oh yes, please go ahead.
Which maybe you would like to answer instead of sobbing.
Okay.
Can you talk about any research you've had to do for your writing? Do you enjoy doing research, and have you learned any interesting, fun facts?
Oh my God, I love doing research because the more research you do, it means you don't have to actually do any writing. That's the amazing part of our research. No, I mean that's seriously that's part of it. Research and world building, like I could do this all day because then I don't actually have to write the thing.
Me too.
But no, I'm a research fanatic. I love going down rabbit holes. For the Savage books, I accumulated just a whole pile of books on ancient battle techniques. Spartans, stuff. Study that for the battle scene. So I wanted them to make sense.
I also thought there was like some Roman history for sure there with like the tribunes, like the speakers for the people and stuff.
That was when I was I did a lot of propaganda research, like historical propaganda, like what were the skills of it. That's where like a lot of the graffiti references came from, and the speaker stuff for sure. I did go to the Romans for a lot of it, I guess, at the end of the day. I also had a number of wonderful sensitivity editors who helped me with the various perspectives in the book that are not my lived perspectives, and that was incredibly helpful and useful and interesting as well. One after the fact, because I kind of screwed one of those perspectives up, and I was very happy that they were willing to come on and save my ass on that. So
that's really cool.
It's a good that to me is it's just another tool of good writing. It's like any good research, that's part of it. So. Yeah, so no, that was a lot of it was based around those kind of elements, like ancient battle elements, ancient cultural elements, and then diversity of perspective kind of things. And I did learn a lot. That I've
specifically fun facts that you remember from your research, or
I'm trying to think of one. I hate questions like that because then I start like
I know
I want to come across.
All the books were written like a while back, but I know.
No, that's the problem. Here, I'll tell you what. I'll give you one from the one I'm working on now.
Oh yeah,
that. Because that's fresh in my mind. So I'm not going to get into what it's about, but I'm working with, I did talk about this a little bit on Twitter, but I said Tanya Barron, who's a wonderful author and medievalist, my research assistant. And we've been doing a little research into medieval cuisine and learned several interesting things. Like for a period there, Premee, they did not use flesh of carrots. They only used the tops, and they discarded.
I did not know that.
Carrot. Yes, I didn't either.
I know you can make carrot top pesto because I've had that before, but
don't know if they did that specifically, but so there was
that's weird.
A long period there, with carrots where they were like
they just like threw out the rest of the carrot. Huh.
Yeah, they just tossed it, and then they assumed like eventually a bunny started eating one, and they were like, oh, the bunny likes it, maybe we
like a bunny specifically.
Bunny specific. That didn't come from the research. That's just an assumption I made. I'll have to check with Tanya.
Because we're writers, we have to extrapolate from our research.
Exactly, that's what you do. You just I think it was Stephen King who said, just give me enough information to think colorfully. And I always actually like that.
Yeah, I like that.
So there you go. That's a fun carrot fact for you from the
that
research
is a fun fact.
For a new book that I'm working on.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know. I think like I always do so much research, and partly because I'm a scientist. I want to try to get the science right, but also like for that first book, for Beneath the Rising, the two main characters go to like Tunisia and Morocco and lots of places in like Northern Africa. And in the second book, they're in frickin' Prague. And like, I haven't been to any of these places. I always get people writing to me like, especially with the first book, they're like, this was amazing. Like, how long was your research trip? What did you do? How many photos did you take? I'm like, I did not do any. But I did a lot of research in the library. And because that book was written from like 2000 to like 2002, there wasn't a whole lot of internet research you could do.
Right.
I didn't have Google Earth or anything. So it was a lot of looking at like photograph books and trying to find like biographies from people and like looking at pictures of their homes and their decorations and stuff, looking at cookbooks because cookbooks have lots of photos, and, you know, figuring out, okay, well, if my two characters are in this country at this time of day, what are they going to find for street food? That kind of thing.
Right.
And yeah, I had a lot of people who just loved the world building there, and you know, the ruins and the desert and the archaeological projects. All of that was done in a library at the university.
That's amazing. I forgot about doing research in libraries, honestly. It's been so
you know, and yeah, people, when it came out in 2020, they were like, "Oh, this is fantastic." I'm like, "You don't know how much work it took to attempt to be semi-respectful and accurate for that, because I've never had sensitivity readers for any of my stuff. I can't have people coming to me and being like, "We would never eat that."
Right.
Anyway,
no.
This is people's invitation to come to me and like tell me that they wouldn't. But I also learned a bunch of fun facts from some of the more insane books that I have in my house, which are all called things like Mysterious Lost Civilizations. And you probably remember them from like, you know, they were produced in like mass amounts. They were produced in series. They have like these white covers. And inside it's just, they gave the reins to like conspiracy theorists or whatever. And they write about all these mysterious lost cultures, and they put together all these artifacts and ruins and buildings and structures and symbols and statues and things like that normally wouldn't go together. Which ended up coming into one of the later books where I was like, this is an artifact off the coast of South America that truly, probably by Time Life, I think a bunch of them were, that cannot be explained. There's these two pilings sunk in the ocean, and they have ropes tied to them that are like 13 feet across, and nobody is going to make a rope that big to tie a ship. Like they know what the ship anchor ropes looked like back then, and the lines that you would normally use on the ship for rigging and stuff. They're like, well, this must have had a ritual meaning. I'm like, it does. We don't know what it is, so I'm stealing it. And you know, I threw that in the book because I was like, that's a weird thing. It probably has something to do with like some eldritch beings or something.
No, that's a great pull. It really also, of course, it makes me think of a meme. I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens.
Well, a lot of these, they're like, no, it's not aliens. It's a lost civilization. They lived in Ireland, but for some reason they got lost. I'm like, did they get lost? They're like, yes. They disappeared. They left behind all these structures. I'm like, did they?
Did they?
Yeah, the writing in these books is usually, it's something. It's. I
want to see you interview those authors now. That's all I want to say.
Me too. There are so many I want to talk to you, especially I have a book called Haunted Britain, and it's just about, it was written by this guy who went around to the various, what he considered to be like ritual sites and haunted sites, and anywhere where there was some kind of spiritual or ritual significance at all, like stone circles and things like that. It took him like years, and the book absolutely reads like he's been hit on the head more than we have.
No,
just got. I thought it was going to be like a factual kind of atlas, like of where the locations and stuff were. No, he's got theories.
Oh, so he got into his own take on what was going on.
Yes,
that's what it was about.
He has many theories, and he was looking for proof. And it's truly amazing book. I hope he's still alive. I want to interview him.
No, I want.
One more question here. When can we expect the Savage Rebellion soup cookbook?
The Savage Rebellion soup cookbook.
I love that.
I would love to do that. No, I would love to do that.
I think you should pitch that to your publishers.
I should. If I had, that's something I would do if I had like a Patreon or something. But well, you know, there's things I can't say about that yet. But maybe we can talk about that down the line. No, I do. Just very quickly, that's a reference to these books, and there's basically kind of a whole culture that's sort of based around passive aggressive comments about each other's soup recipes, and that's one of my favorite parts of the books.
I love that culture.
I really actually appreciate. Thank you very much.
I love that the culture is so ingrained in people that it actually forms a plot point and allows a character to do something that they shouldn't have been able to do because of soup.
No, and that was That's one of those things that makes you feel real smart because I didn't plan that. But then you kind of get there and you're like, hey, I set up the whole soup culture.
I set it up. Now I'm going to knock it over. Yeah, I loved it.
That's one of my favorite parts of being an author and about writing is those moments where you realize something that's going to make you look way smarter than you actually are from earlier in the book.
Because you can just grab it and be like, I meant to do that. But thanks, Thanks, Matt. Yeah.
Hey, he hooked me up. Usually he screws me and just
usually screws me over, but yeah.
Yeah.
We also got a question for both authors. What are you reading right now, or what are you excited to read soon?
Oh, that's a really good question. What I got Chuck Wendig's new horror novel, The Black Orchard.
Apple. Oh my God, I read that one.
Yeah.
Like a month ago. I had nightmares for like a week.
Yeah.
I had nightmares.
Did you really?
Yes, I did.
I'm very, very excited.
I don't read a lot of like horror. Oh my God.
Right. Yeah. So
it's very good.
Yeah.
It's very good. It's very Chuck Wendig.
It's very, and I love Chuck's writing, so I'm down for whatever Chuck does. I was a fan of him way before we actually became like friends or anything. So so that's I'm all about that one. Right.
It's very aptly.
What about you, Premee?
Oh, I'm currently reading also an unpublished novel, which I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about, but so yeah, I did just
that happens a lot.
I did just finish Ithaca by Claire North. I absolutely loved it because there's been a lot of like Greek myth retellings in the last few years. I've read a bunch of them. I liked some of them. This one I loved, but it's basically the story of Penelope and her household and the suitors and whatnot.
Right.
While Odysseus is away, and how she's dealing with basically the threat to her kingdom. And it's just the writing is so confident, and it's narrated by somebody you would not think it'd be narrated by. And I just loved it. And I heard there's a sequel, and I can't wait for the sequel. I'm very excited.
Awesome.
Yeah. What other questions did we get? No, we're all done for questions.
Perfect timing. Honestly.
Perfect timing. We have 3 minutes left.
We're just that good.
We are that good.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone in our audience for joining us tonight. And just as a reminder, don't forget to purchase your copy of Savage Crowns. You can do that at the link below. Or any of Matt's and Premee's books will also be linked in that event page. And just as a reminder, we do have signed book plates from Matt. So yeah, thanks for joining us, and have a great night, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Everybody.